Okay, good morning, guys. The idea of today's lesson is basically some recap and some new things. Okay, we want to look at. Okay, so I'm gonna pretty much what I've done in the class, the track class. Okay, some of the all the track class I've done a demo. The last one that I did was a recording as well, so you can find that on YouTube. Okay, I'll direct you to that. So okay, pretty much the things that you've already done. Okay, we're going to try to recap on those. Just have a brief look at it, and then look at some new things. And then also I want to include sound in there. Okay, which I haven't written down there. And I'll give you another demo, quick demo of doing other new things. Okay. So I'm going to try to work ahead, okay, and then later on we will see what was the chapters that was covered. Okay, so you go through that, and then when you get to the chapters, you have an idea of what it is about. Okay, right. So with get random numbers, we've done use the get random number, which is the method, okay, for getting things to behave randomly. Okay, so in conjunction with that, you use it as with the if statement. Okay, so I'll show that all in the demonstration app. Okay, so the idea of get random also is to make things happen randomly, but in terms of percentage. Okay, so when we say that make the thing turn anti-clockwise 5% or 10% of the time, okay, uh, you firstly you uh, get a random number. Uh, get random number. Right. So once you get that random number, you then use it in conjunction with the if statement. Okay. So you would say if this random number that you get is less than 10. Okay. So what this basically says is that 10% of the time, okay, so it's easy to work with 100, 100%. So it will get a number, but if that number is less than 10, it is 10% of the time. So it will be from 0 to 9. Huh? 10. Uh, this here means 90% of the time. Okay, given the amount. But this also is also 10% of the time. Alright, then we looked at adding your own methods. Okay, adding own methods means first of all you need to know that there is only one. There's a default method for every say, property or act. Okay? So your default method is the act method, but you can add new methods. Okay, other methods. Right at the bottom of that. So that is basically adding new methods. Okay. So with adding new methods, we need to understand a method signature. Okay. For the test that we got, we gave you four methods. Okay, signatures, and we asked you to identify the return type, identify the name, identify the parameter set. Okay, and identify whether the return type will return anything or nothing. Right? So that is basically known as the signature of a method. And the method consists of the signature consists of that one line. Okay? So public is just a accessor specifier. So in other words, it specifies how this method is being accessed outside of the class code itself. Okay? So public means you can call it. Private means it is private to the current class that is defined, and then there's the other one protected. Okay? That you should learn in the other subject area. basically that is known as a access specifier. So it specifies in which way you can access a object method, okay? Either publicly, private, or protected. Okay. So yeah. Alright, so there are two things that you need to know about methods. We need to define methods. A method must be method must be defined and it must be formal. Okay. And then on different objects, simply we spoke about the different objects that you can, we give you adding an object, okay? Rather when you add a class, that becomes a blueprint of a object, okay? So when we talk about classes and actors, we basically classes, objects and actors. Um, so you create different actors, that becomes your class, that creates a class for that actor, and you can then add a object on the screen for that. Right, chapter 9 talks about keyboard controls. Okay, this is where we use the key down method. Okay, also in conjunction with your if statements. And then we look at multiple objects. This is basically adding, if you've got flowers, many flowers, you have many objects of the same type. That's basically multiple types of multiple objects. Okay? And then we will look at the other, this is now new things, the world class, and I'll talk about some of the methods that you use in the world class. Okay? Alright, so I need to just demonstrate this using a scenario. Right, I'm going to first show you this scenario and what I've basically done and how we actually are able to do this. Okay. So this scenario here basically, right, imagine a rocket ship and objects flying towards the rocket and the rocket must avoid it. But besides avoiding it, you must also be able to shoot at it. Okay. So what happens here is that there's a couple of things that we're doing there. Okay. So we'll get something like that. Okay, so I'm going to start a new scenario and simply just explain some of the concepts of the various chapters in one scenario. Okay, we'll do that on the desktop. All this space. Call it space shooter. Okay, something that shoots in space. Right, so again, creating a new scenario brings up this initial box there where you can then add new objects. Okay. Again, the world, if you look at the world by default creates a world, but you can also add other worlds, okay? So we will have to look at how you actually transition to the world, okay? But we'll look at another method of actually simulating transition from one scene to another scene, okay? So your world class has got also its own methods, okay? Quickly look at that there. Uh, So you can view all the methods in the Greenfoot API or the documentation. Uh, so what we will look at things like getting the, or rather not getting, setting the background. Okay, I'll look at that one. Show text. We'll look at that one. And then we'll also look at the remove object and add object methods, okay, of the world class. Okay. So with regards to the world class, we want to look at a couple of things. X, okay, which basically displays text on display text on the wall at a given text uh, y or okay. Right, so that is the then you have the set background. Alright, so the set background sets the background image. Okay? Alright, so you can set the background to another image, different image, as to the image that you already have there, in place of the image that you have on the wall. Okay? But then add object. There is also a world class method, okay, which adds an object or right. In other words, we're saying that it adds an object. In other words, there should be a class already created for it. So it adds object to the world, and it does that, adding it to a specified or given x, y coordinates. Okay, right? It adds the object. So the parameters there. Okay, we'll look at what is parameter for your show text. For instance, you have the text which is in quotes, and you've got your x and y coordinates. Those are the parameters. Okay. Set background. Yeah, that's the file name. Okay. There's another type of set background which uses Greenfoot image. Okay, but we'll have a look at that again. Okay. And then add object uh, class itself and the x, y coordinates. Okay. What did I do now? Class x, y. And then you also have the remove object. Okay. So like you say that if something must disappear at some point, you can remove it. Okay, that's basically that's almost similar to the remove touching. Okay, but not yeah, it's almost similar to the remove touching. So here again, you then specify the class, the object that you want to remove. Okay, alright, and this basically removes an object from the world. Okay. Right, now I'll show you how you actually get the create an object of world type and then use it via the object that you create. So you have to first create an object, okay? Inside, in other words, when you call it inside another class, you have to first create an object of that type and then call it via that object, okay? So it would be something dot, okay, something dot add or something dot show or something dot set background. Let's go back to our demo where we here. So let's take background here, something background. Okay, let's use that for instance. Okay, use the space. This one. Alright, so there's our space area, or like outer space task. Then we want to add the ship, the rocket, and the rocket you find here the transport. rocket. Then we also want to add the bullets or the chute. Okay, let's call it chutes. That but might be too big. That. Again, if you at some stage you want to add your own images, you can do that. Okay, that's it in the latest chapter. And then space objects. So let's put up some space objects over here. What are we going to Right, let's say that we use the hamburgers, okay? Space, in other words, hamburgers fly into space, okay? Big box okay, of hamburgers. Okay, so we put all these hamburgers here. Okay. Alright, we've got our rocket at this side here. Oops. And then our suits. Okay, now the suits you don't add here yet. Okay, that will do via your back there. Alright, let's save that world, okay? Alright, so for your space object here, you want them to move that way, okay, towards the ship, okay? So we will make it to move. Uh, so that way means minus something, okay? So let's make it to move of minus 3 units. Okay? So as it moves, the spaceship must now try to avoid it by moving up, down, so on. So let's code that spaceship. Right, so let's pause here. Okay, so all your code, like I said, you add inside your hack method. Not necessarily all of it, but any statement that must be executed somehow must be included in the act method. Okay? If all statements are executed via the act method. But if you've got other methods, okay, if you want to break down your code, okay, you want to break it down using methods. Okay, so our spaceship must move down, and two things it must do. Okay, it will move up and down, and it will shoot. Okay, right, or it will release a bullet. Okay. So the first one here you want to add is let's call it mover, and that would be a void method. Right, so with the mover, you just check what keys are pressed, okay, and then you move it. Okay, so in other words, for this example, the spaceship is not going to move by itself forward, it's only going to move up and down, okay? So if the Greenfoot dot keys key down, down, right, so we want to use two keys, the up arrow key and the down arrow key. Okay? By the way, if you've got two players let's say you've got a game where two players are, okay? So you will create two types, two different classes for player one, player two, and then use other keys like the A, W, and X key for the control to the one in the keyboard. Okay? Now that works. One player plays with A, W, X, and E, whatever the keys are there. And the other one plays with the arrow keys. So if you press up, it must move up. And if down is pressed, it must go down. There, so up and down. Now, making it move up and down is not you're not using the move statement here. It's move forward or in the direction in which it points. Okay, so our spaceship points to the other direction horizontally. Okay, so if you press, if you make it to move, it will move horizontally. So if you want to move it to the opposite direction, not the opposite, but the more vertical direction, depending on where it faces, then you use the set location. So we're going to use set location. But again, if you want to use, if you use the set location, you must first get the original location and then add to that or subtract from that. So yeah, x y. So our spaceship will not move forward. Or, no, there will be no alteration to the x coordinate. It will stay fixed on the x coordinate, but it will change on the y coordinate. So we get y. So if you want to make it to move upwards, we want to decrease the y coordinate. Okay? So we say minus 5. Okay? 5, that's moving upwards. And plus 5 will make it to move downwards. Okay? The it's a y coordinate thing. Right, so oops, not happening. Why is it not happening? Let's just see what's wrong with our code. Oh, what's wrong with the code? Why is it not working? Okay. Hey, what about Google? Okay, you're getting clever now. Okay. So we must specify the move. We call the move method. Okay? So we coded the move method, the mover, but we didn't call it. Okay. I was testing you there. Okay. So call the method. What's wrong? Sorry, semicolon. So we run this. Now, okay, to be fair, you don't usually put the burgers so close to each other. Or you could, okay, because we will, the spaceship will be able to shoot them down. Okay? Alright, so you've got that idea, okay? Moving up, down, burgers moving forward, okay? And at some point, the burgers must reappear on the other side, okay? Or the spaceship option. Alright, so now let's look at the other method that we want to also include for the spaceship. Is we want the spaceship to actually shoot, um, let's call this shooter, okay? But you have to figure out, like in this case where I defined the method, but I didn't call it, and that caused it to not give an error, but it didn't work, okay? In this here, you're calling a method, but it's not being defined, okay? So in other words, for a program to work, well, to work, you have to both call a method and define a method, okay? So there are two things to a method. It must be called and it must be defined. So this over here is your method definition. Okay? That's the method definition over there. And that is the call to the method. Okay? Call to the method. Right, so let's add the other method here, which is our shooter method. Public void shooter. Alright, so the shooter method. So over here, you know, this is where you want to make the suits or the bullets basically appear, okay? And for that you will need to use the add object method, which is a method from the world class. So you have to create a world class object, okay? And this is how you do that. World I'll use W, you can use anything, okay? But as long as it's not the same world, you can even use world, because those are two different names. Okay, the one is uppercase and the other one is lowercase. Right, and then okay, you can specify it like that, and then say W is equal to get world. So in other words, you're making that to be equal to the current world that you are in. Okay. Uh, right. So if you don't want to use two lines of code there, you can use one line of code, but it's also using get world like that. Right. So that is simply a definition and an assignment. Okay. So you're defining the object world, the world object, and then you also initialize it to the current world in which it is being created. Let's just do something slightly a bit bigger. That's fine. You can see the back there. So, down. So, so now, as the object is being shot, you want to make it appear. So we use the statement add object. Okay. All right. So this is the parameter is. So this is a syntax here, new, because it's a new class that you create, and shoot is the class type that you create. Right. That is just to say that you create a class of that, and then you have to specify the x coordinate, x and y coordinate. Okay, let's just put in any random x and y coordinate here so that we can see it actually works. Uh, okay, so that should use that there. Now the shooter, okay, now you'll see that this will basically happen initially. Right? So let's just try that now. So you run this. You see there the shot appear there. You only see one there, but it actually happens multiple times. Okay, because it's calling this shooter multiple times. Okay, but it appears on that corner location there. Okay? So basically, what you want to do is you don't want to call it. You don't want to add something with you want to add it. Um, you want to add it if something happens. Okay, so let's say if this Greenfoot dot is key down, if the space bar is pressed, okay, then we want to add that. Okay, but also you don't want to add it at the specified location. You want to add it wherever the rocket is. Okay, so you can get the x coordinate of the rocket and the y coordinate of the rocket. Okay, and add it there. Let's just do that. Remember, we are in the current class. When you use a method, it calls the method of the current class. So we use get x, and then we use get y. So at the same time that you creating it, it must then move, okay, forward. So we want to also, all right, let's just try this first. Okay. So we run this, you see, it appears there in the center, but it will appear multiple times, obviously. We don't see that. So what we want to do is we want to actually add code for the shot to move forward, okay? So we can just add a move method here. Okay. So on our shot or shoot, we just make it to move forward. So then you'll have this effect there. As I press the space bar, see where it comes out. You want to make it to come on there. Okay. Or somewhere. Sorry. Alright, so somewhere in front. Okay, so let's just add 50 to that, okay? 50 to the x coordinate, okay? So remember when it gets the x coordinate gets the center point of where that in other words the object and the center point of the object, that is your x and y coordinate. Okay? So adding 50 to it will make it to be more forward, okay? Uh, so you'll get something like that, okay? See where it comes out now? Okay. Okay. Alright. Okay. So that is alright, so we've used the add method there successfully, right? Okay, let's just pause for a couple of questions here. Okay, so the next thing that you want to use here or do is, as it shoots, okay, somewhere, it must, those bullets must not remain on the edge there, it must disappear, okay? So for the shot, you need to add more code there. So I'm not gonna. So if is at edge, is at edge. Okay, so if it is at the edge, if is at edge, then you want to make this to move to do something. Okay, you want to make it to disappear. So because I'm working with world optic with world methods, I will have to create a world. Okay, so if it is at the edge, we want to use the is. Remove. Okay. Alright, let me just explain that line of code there. Again, world class, an object called world W, which is a world class object, and then if you keep at the edge, move this. Okay, now the word there, this refers to the current object, okay, which it is being declared. So you're removing the current object, right? The bullet. That also, yeah. Okay. No. If it's touching the hamburger, it must be, yeah, the hamburger is here. So you can do that as well. Okay. But this is checking for when it reaches the edge. Okay. So okay, so that looks more, okay. So with the removes. Okay. So the other thing that you want to do is to check if is touching. What do we want to check? Space. Space object. Okay. So if it's touching the space object, then we also want to make it to okay, we remove the code from the other section there. So uh, if the space object is touching the shooter or the shoot, then we remove the space object, okay? Else, we check for the location. In other words, we check for whether it's an edge, and then we set it back to the beginning, okay? I think I should have done the else part in the other one as well, okay? Check. So it's either one or two things that will happen is it will be removed from the world, or it will reappear on the other edge, okay? So you have this effect here. Um, see where. So the object will fly through the space, and if it reaches the other edge, it will just reappear on the other side. Okay? So that's for that there. Okay? Alright. Now let's look at the background. Okay? Let's look at the background. Let's say, are we going to do this now? Let's put it on the rocket. Okay? Put it on the rocket. Right. I'm going to say if I press a key or some key, all right, then I'm going to change the world, okay, to something, okay. So let's just put in a method here, change back background. So for this method, um, so we will say public void change background. So we say if Um, some key is pressed, we want to change the background to something, okay? And you can do this anytime, okay? But as long as you know what how to change it, okay? So if a dot is now, and let's use the okay, let's use the key one, okay, number one. Let's say C. Okay, let's use C. So if C is pressed for the key, we want to change the background. Now again, for the background, it is a world object. We have to create a world object. Okay. So it's a method of the world class, so you have to create that object. And then we say w dot set background, alright. And then you put in a file name here, right? So the file name that you put in there could be something. Let's just look at the file quickly. Sure. Let's use the tulips. That you put under your images. Okay, so we place that the image that we want to change it to in there. And let's just go back to our code. Set that to tulips.jpg. So press C, then change. Okay. Okay. Right. So that is